Touchdown Alabama Magazine and 14 and counting analyst Stephen M. Smith, reporting live from outside the Melmore Athletic Facility. After a heartbreaking 29-24 loss against the Texas A&M Aggies this past Saturday here at Bryant-Denny Stadium, the Alabama Crimson Tide now turns its attention to this Saturday as they take on the Western Carolina Panthers here in Bryant-Denny Stadium once again on this upcoming Saturday. Head Coach Nick Saban is at the podium right now getting ready for his press conference. Let's go live to the action.
Comment, no matter how you cut the mustard, whether we won both of the last two games or lost both of the last two games, I don't think we've executed as well, as a football team, and whether we don't focus as well, plan as well, practice as well, rest as well, get emotionally ready as well, for whatever reasons, I think that the focus has to be on, not what has been lost, but what can be gained from the lessons learned from those circumstances and situations. And, we need to look forward in a positive way to what we want this football team to be remembered as, accomplish, and there's a lot of things moving forward that we can accomplish. So I know the questions are, why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why did we call this play? Why did we call that play? Well, it still goes back to why are we even in that situation relative to how we played the rest of the game. Why are we in the situation that we don't really respond as a team emotionally with any kind of aggressiveness or energy level until we get behind 20-0? So, all those are questions that, I'm certainly responsible for. I'm not trying to say that, but for whatever reasons, we have an opportunity now to, prove that we can be a good football team, and that's what we want to focus on. That's all we want to talk about, is we're looking forward. The only thing that we can gain from the past is lessons learned for all of us in terms of what we can do better, what we need to do better, and what everybody's got to make a commitment to in terms of trying to do better and accomplish something significant with what's left of this season with this team. So, we had Amari Cooper and Eddie Lacy as offensive players, John Fulton, C.J. Mosley as defensive players, and Cody Mandel on special teams. And the only real injury that we have is, John Fulton has a turf toe, and a pretty good one. And he actually finished the game with it. And, it really swelled up quite a bit and all that. So he may be very questionable, for this particular game. I don't think that we need to be worried about who we're playing this week as much as we need to worry about how we're playing. And I think that's the focus. We have a lot of respect for every team that we play, and certainly Western Carolina has done a lot of good things this season. They've scored a lot of points, and but I think the focus for us needs to be on what we're doing, how we're playing. That's the approach that I'd like to take with our coaches, our players, and everybody in the organization.
First question, last week in practice we saw Chris Black getting back and being more active with the team. I guess what's his status and how's he feeling kind of going forward?
Well, he's cleared for activity, but he's not cleared for contact, so he really is not cleared to play yet. He's just out there doing drills, and maybe in another month or so he would get cleared for contact, and then we could make some decision. I think it'd be kind of foolish to play him. It probably would be a bowl game only type of thing, but we'll make that decision when the time comes. It's a medical decision right now.
I guess I know any fumble is too many for you, but TJ over the last couple games has been on the wrong end of one. You worry about his confidence, I guess, going forward as a freshman?
Well, I think it comes down to the same thing, carrying the ball correctly. In one case, he didn't get the handoff correctly. In the other case, he was carrying the ball, kind of low in his belly and got popped. So I think the confidence should come in doing it correctly. We have every faith, trust, and confidence in him that when he does it correctly, he's not going to fumble.
2 weeks ago, you mentioned that the team had played better at home than on the road. Is that something that you find to be a coincidence, or is it something you can more put your finger on?
I don't think you said that correctly. I said I thought the team played better on the road.
Did I flip it around?
Yeah,
I apologize.
flip it around. So, no, I really don't know. I really don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if it's the challenge, the focus, the players can be more serious because they're a little bit more confined. I really, don't know, but the last 2 games we played, one at home and one on the road, and I put both those in the same category. We didn't play as well as a team. You all don't think so because we won one and we lost the other one, and if we'd have won this one, you wouldn't be concerned either. I was concerned then. So, but, you all live in the results world out there. We kind of live in the process world, so, it's hard to get people to respond. It's kind of the bluegrass miracle phenomenon. You play bad, you win the game, then the next week you get your ass kicked because nobody responded to playing bad because you won on the bluegrass miracle.
Also, I'm doing
you probably don't deserve all that, but it's not personal.
I messed up the question. Also, I'm doing a story on the senior class. Can you talk about what they've meant to the program from a leadership standpoint, especially now being a pretty small group of 8 or 9 guys?
Yeah, well, this has been a really good group of guys. Not a big group. Obviously, some of the guys would be a lot bigger group if everybody would have stayed in school and we didn't lose some guys to the draft and different things. And some guys have been redshirted, so a lot of things affect class sizes, but this group has been a very, very good group, been a very productive group, and certainly been a bunch of guys that have bought into the program and done everything that you could ask them for personally, academically, and athletically. So we're really proud of, not only the way this group has performed on the field, but how they've represented the institution and the program as well.
Last 2 games, seems like there's been more opponent yards after contact. Is that a tackling thing for y'all, or how do you think the team is tackling?
Same way you do. You wouldn't be asking a question if it wasn't a concern. We had more missed tackles. We had more yards after catch, after first contact or first missed tackle, especially on space plays. And that's one thing we've always been, is a really good tackling team and a good tackling secondary. And that is something that we need to improve on.
Yeah, I have 2, Coach. First, there's been so much focus, fairly or unfairly, on AJ, but talk about he threw the 2 interceptions. Do you feel like he's hit a plateau the last couple of games? Is there anything with him other than just maybe better competition?
Well, I just think that, as a quarterback, you're always going to get maybe a little more credit than you deserve when things go well, and maybe get a little bit more of the blame when things don't go well. But I do think that the kind of competitor AJ is, my expectation would be is that he takes the bull by the horns, learns from the lessons that he's learned in the last 2 games, and try to work on improving. I don't think there's any reason to say that he's reached a plateau. I think he needs to break through and continue to improve and not be satisfied where he is, and get the players around him to help him do that. So that would be, my approach with him relative to what he needs to do to actually play better, take the bull by the horns and say, what does this team, what does this offense want to be remembered for in terms of how we play?
And just following up on John Fulton, you seem to play a lot more in the A&M game. If he can't go, is it back to Miller and Blue and have secondary defense?
Well, what we did was, in the last game was, Vinny usually plays 5th defensive back, and, Nick Perry had a bad shoulder, so, Vinny also can play the 6th defensive back. So with the no huddle situation as it was in the game. You know, we played D. Milner at star, John at corner in his place, and then Vinny was always the 6 DB, which was in there about 70% of the time. But we didn't feel like we could play nickel one way and dime another. So that's how John ended up playing. And John has played well when he's had the opportunity to play, so we thought he deserved a chance to play. And because of some injuries to some other guys, we made some of those changes, and and John did his player of the week. He did a good job.
Can you talk a little bit about your defensive line rotation on who's specializing in what, and particularly Quentin Dial?
Well, we played a little different in the last game. We didn't play the normal. We tried to get 4 guys in the last game that were athletic enough to be defensive tackles. All right, and we actually took, Hubbard and Xavier Dixon and Denzel, and we played Ed inside, and we tried to get where we had 4 defensive ends and 4 inside guys that were the most athletic guys that could do their job because of the quarterback, in terms of being able to have a chance to get him on the ground, or be able to pass rush a little more athletically, or have a little more balanced pass rush. And so that was a little bit different, in that particular game. And I don't think it's something that we can do, all the time. It's just that circumstance, and that's the way we practiced all week. And Jesse was able to play inside because he's pretty athletic and runs pretty well. But some of the other bigger guys that we have, that Pagan was the other guy that played outside. But we just didn't want to. We didn't see an opportunity to play those guys much unless if they were in 4 or 5 wideouts.
Also, you're talking about wanting to look back and see what everybody could have done better the past couple of weeks, including yourself. What could you have done better yourself?
Oh, I think there's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of things that we all could do. I think that we internally try to do those things. I think every player probably has things that he'd like to do better. And obviously when we don't play well, that means, did you plan well enough? Did you practice well enough? Did you practice the things that you ended up playing? Were the players prepared? Were they emotionally ready to play the game? All those types of things, get analyzed, not only from a big picture standpoint, but also from a group standpoint and individually, with every player in the organization, as well as every coach. And when you don't play well, obviously, you need to do all those things a little bit better at every level, at every level, from me right down to the players. All right, so that's what we try to analyze. That's what we try to do. Take an example of tackling. We really tried to emphasize tackling last week, and we still had more missed tackles than we'd like. All right, so there are physical things and there are emotional things, and you can make excuses and say, well, the team was emotionally tired, so they weren't quite focusing or whatever like they needed to, but they played a heck of a lot better when they got behind 20-0. Everybody all of a sudden got emotionally better, so why couldn't it have been better at the start? That was the questions I asked myself. So.
Nick, moving on after a loss, does it become easier the further along you get in your coaching career, or does it become more difficult?
Well, I don't know that it's easier or more difficult. I think if you're a competitor, nobody likes to lose. So, that's always, difficult. I think, my job is more of the concern of not how I feel, but how do we get the people in the organization to respond the right way, and not make me feel better by getting on everybody else, but by trying to get everybody else to do better so that we can learn from the lessons, grow from the lessons, not focus on the past, but how is this going to benefit us in the future? How can we gain something from our loss? And that's how that's how I try to focus on it. That's the challenge that I have. Not to say how disappointed are you, how bad do you feel? I catch it from everybody, man. My wife's mad. I mean, my kids are upset. Everybody's. So I have to be like, yeah, I am too, but how am I going to affect everybody around me? All right, so that we respond the right way to the circumstance that we're in. Again, it's keeping the focus on the vision of what you want to accomplish, not the circumstance. And I think sometimes last week, too many people, too many circumstances, maybe too many interviews, maybe too much, why aren't I playing more? Could be a lot of things. But that's not the vision of the team. And when you have that, you heard Chuck Pagamo talk about circumstances and vision. That's what I'm talking about. His circumstance, he has a circumstance too. They have one as a team, he has one personally. But his vision is to see his daughters grow up and dance at their wedding. So that's the difference. That's what I'm trying to do. Keep everybody focused on the vision.
What did you take from last year to put it to this year?
Last year, when it happened in the LSU game, I don't think we lost a beat. I think we gained more motivation. And I think that's one thing, the past couple of weeks here, this year, we haven't been playing our best ball, and it's shown. And we just got to remotivate ourselves. And, as going through it last year, I think we understand that we can't give up. And, you never know what can happen. We're just going to keep pushing forward and keep working. We can't slack off now.
So how do you do that specifically as one of the leaders on the team?
Just understanding, keep everybody motivated, letting everybody know or realizing our purpose, not letting that dream or our ultimate goal die, just understanding we haven't played our best ball and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We just got to take care of our business pretty much. If we do that, then we'll be okay.
Nico, what frustrates you more about the defense? Is it the lack of tackling? Is it the lack of pass rush? Or
I don't think anything frustrates me. It's just that I know we're better than what we've been playing, and we haven't played to the Bama standard. Our standard on defense. We haven't did that the past couple of weeks, and it showed. But now it's just we got to have the mindset of there's no tomorrow. From here on out, there's no tomorrow, and we got to practice better throughout everything, tackling, taking on blocks, run stopping, pass defending, or whatever it is. We got to do everything 110% better. And I'm gonna do my best, and other leaders, Robert or Square, are gonna hold everybody to that Bama standard from here on out. It's not that we haven't been doing it all year. It's just we got to do it even more now. So if it takes that, I'm not the vocal leader. I don't like to talk that much. I like to let my actions speak. But if that's what it takes to, get somebody going.
During the press conference, Coach Saban talked about how his offense's inability to convert on third down, as well as his defense's inability to prevent other teams from converting on third down, really hurt the Tide these past 2 weeks. Against LSU, Alabama was able to squeak out the win. Against Texas A&M, not so much. Coach Saban said it is my responsibility to make sure our guys are prepared each and every day to play a football game, as well as it's the team's responsibility to motivate themselves and to play each and every down to our standard, one possession at a time. Coach Saban said we cannot have this bluegrass miracle mentality in which we play horrible for the majority of the game only to look out and win at the end. We have to take each possession one step at a time and play to our best if we want to improve as a football team. Coach Saban said the difference between last year's football team and this year's football team after a loss is that last year's football team handled the situation positively and carried on the season finishing strong and put themselves in a position to be the best. This year's football team's question, can they answer the same way, playing positively and trying to finish strong? Linebacker Nico Johnson told the media, "We have to motivate ourselves. We have not played our best football in the past 2 weeks, but that does not mean that we can't finish strong. We have got to finish strong and put ourselves in the best possible position to win." Fortunately for the Tide, the loss only dropped them to 4th in the BCS standings. With the loss to Kansas State, Oregon, and Notre Dame, Alabama can very much well find themselves back in the conversation. But the Tide isn't focused on that. They're focused on playing against Western Carolina this Saturday here at Bryant-Denny Stadium, taking every game one step at a time. The question for this game being, will Alabama come out punching Western Carolina in the mouth? Or will there be another struggle for the Tide trying to crawl their way back into the game? These questions and more will be answered as the Alabama Crimson Tide take on Western Carolina here in Bryant-Denny Stadium on November the 17th, 2012. This is Stephen M. Smith with Touchdown Alabama Magazine, reporting live from outside the Melmore facility.